Hi, my name is Anna Jackson, and I'm a curious mind who wants to meet interesting people. That's why this show is called What Do You Say with Anna J? So, should we go and meet somebody interesting? Hi, and thanks for joining us at What Do You Say with Anna J? And guess what? I'm Anna J. I have got a really cool guest today because he's been in broadcasting for over 40 years. Upon retiring from CHBC and also now Global, he is our newest counselor, and what's exciting is he's had the highest votes with actually not spending a lot of money becoming one of our counselors. And I just wanted to say hello, Rick Weber.
Hi, thank you for having me on. I'm glad you're Anna J, because I'm not. We'd be in trouble.
What do you do with I don't know.
I got to tell you that I just thank you for having me in. And
I'm so glad.
As I was driving here, I was thinking to myself, I'd much rather be doing the interview because I did that a lot.
I know. 43
years, and being interviewed is always a little peculiar to me.
I love it. Well, I'm putting you in the hot seat then. It's really easy. I just want to I've always been curious about people because I always find other people's lives much more interesting than mine. So when I saw you and I had a chance to speak to you and I said, can you come on my show? That's why I really wanted to just, everybody sees you as a news anchor or in council in very stoic positions. And here you are just hanging out on the couch with me. So I want to do that. So where are you from and why is the Okanagan blessed to have you?
Well, that's nice. Well, actually, we haven't actually talked about this ahead of time. So
no.
I saw some of the questions you would be asking. You don't give them all away, but you give some questions. Mm-hmm. But I am an Air Force brat. So okay. I grew up, and I actually had to write the numbers down because I lose track of them. But, you move around a lot, of course, in the Air Force. And I was born in Winnipeg, but moved all over the place.
Wow.
And so one night I couldn't fall asleep, so I started doing math in my head.
And I love that.
I counted out that I lived in 16 different towns and Air Force bases over the course of time.
In Canada or around the world?
Well, Canada and once in France.
Oh.
And then I lived in 27 different houses. Like, you don't have a friend who annoys you by asking you to move. I'm that worst friend. 27 different homes I lived in. Right?
I get it.
So I had to write those down because I always forget. But, very mobile existence. And not only with broadcast, or as being an Air Force brat, but also once I got into broadcasting, you tend to move around a lot as well, right? From one town to another. And it wasn't until I got to Kelowna that I've been here now 30 years. And my record before that was 6.5 years. I guess I've been here now 33 years now.
Wow,
and
okay.
so, once I got here, I realized, this is going to be a problem because to move around in broadcasting, you tend to go from one market to the next, to a bigger market, to a bigger market. And I got here and went, I don't want to go anywhere else, because the next logical market would be Calgary maybe, or Edmonton.
Right.
I don't want to go to Calgary.
I know.
I'm in Kelowna, so I never went anywhere after that. I just stayed here and annoyed people for 30 years on CHBC.
No. So. I love that. And so when you came, you came here, and was there a job waiting for you? Like, did you have to apply for a job? Like,
yes.
What?
Yeah, I mean, I started out as a DJ, actually, a radio DJ, and that was when my dad was posted in Summerside, PEI. Okay. And I got a job after school in grade 12 doing after school kids radio show.
Oh.
And the weekends. And I went through university in Charlottetown, but I'd always come back to Summerside to do the radio show on the weekends. So I lived in campus during the week, but I never actually spent a weekend on campus for all those years. I always went back to, because I loved radio, I loved doing it, right?
Yeah.
And the point is, I never did find out what a weekend at campus is like.
You were one of those party boys.
Well, I would have, even if I was there, but anyway, we made up for it during the week,
Yeah.
But what I'm getting at is that I did radio for a while, and then I came out to Powell River to visit relatives in Powell River in BC in '78, and they hired me there at the end of the summer as their news director. Even though I was like 19, 20, I'd never voted yet, and I hadn't even had any real training in broadcasting,
right?
At least in journalism. But now suddenly I started covering city councils in 1978. So
oh my goodness, you had to learn quickly.
I had to learn fast. Yeah. What's first, second, and third reading? What's all this? What's all this? And I hate to see what those stories looked like at first. That I was, and then I just moved around I'm a small town boy, and I moved over former boss invited me to go to Merritt of all places, and that was before the Coquihalla, so it was really in the middle of nowhere.
Oh my
But a great
goodness.
job. I was radio in the morning for 3 hours, I did a show, and then went out and did sales, and wrote the ads, and I go out and cover city council, and I wrote news stories. It was
So
a good
it
job.
was full on training on the job.
All the time. And then there was a TV job came open in Terrace.
What were you researching?
Well, there was a lot of things. For instance, there were First Nations blockades, and at Kitwalk, I remember they were slowing down. They were blocking the rail line, and the band trusted us enough to. We were the only ones in and allowed to go in and out of the community and report on their behalf, and report both sides. And that was an eye-opening experience for me. So that's an example, right?
Yeah.
There is a lot of resource stories, and the cool part was you get to go. I went with the Coast Guard in their helicopter, the big giant helicopter,
Oh my goodness.
with Santa Claus, and visited all the lighthouses off the west coast of Queen Charlotte Islands, like just rocks in the middle of nowhere.
That is
and
so
we
cool.
imagine landing in a place where the people living there, kids, adults, haven't seen anyone for 4 or 5 months.
Yeah.
And you show up and you're bringing Santa Claus.
My goodness. Did that kind of set you up when you came into to Kelowna to do your own research? Is that maybe why you were the best guy for the job? Because you've had so much already help, like mindset. I'm sorry, I just blanked out. Like, because I'm thinking about the trail thing, but we'll just edit this bit out. Okay, one question. Did that kind of help you when you were working, when you came into Kelowna, and you must have had already all the journalism experience? Because
Well,
did they just give you news and
no,
say, read this?
that's a good question. No, in a smaller market, that's a really good point, because in a smaller, that's a lot of people think that. But in a smaller market, you write your own stuff.
Yeah.
And so you write your own teasers coming up later. You write the headlines.
Right.
You write your own intros. In Terrace, we were a CBC affiliate, and if I wanted to run a CBC report in the middle of my newscast, like national from Ottawa, I literally had to take the tape and dub it off myself. So I carried around a stack of tapes this big, getting ready for the
my
newscast. So you
goodness.
did everything.
Yeah.
So when you come to Kelowna and go, look, I used to not only write the cast, but I edited the cast. They didn't believe me, actually.
Wow.
So I did have the experience that they needed, because you have to. As you sit, we're talking about how to put together a 5 o'clock newscast, right?
Yeah.
Or an 11, I got hired here to do the 11.
Well, you know what? We're going to talk about that in a minute.
That's the next one.
So I am going to be continuing my conversation with Rick Weber, and we're going to talk about how do you put together a newscast so that it looks this easy. I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so I'm back with What Do You Say with Anna J with Rick Weber, and we were kind of talking about how we got into news and what's happening now, but now I want to kind of know, how do you put together a news program to make it look this easy? Because you guys make it look easy. I just have to sit here and chat away with my friends. So tell me, what did you have to do to put together news?
Well, my job at Kelowna, originally I got hired to do the 11 o'clock newscast.
Yeah.
And your original question long ago that I never got around to answering was that there was an opening. I moved down to Kamloops briefly, and then while I was there, an opening came up in Kelowna, and Kelowna was a bigger station, a better station. Kelowna is a bigger, better town, even back then, right? And so I really worked hard. I applied for it.
Yeah.
I had friends who were already working at Global, at CHBC. For instance, Blaine Gaffney, you worked with me in Terrace.
Yeah.
I've known him since 1986.
Oh, I love it.
So I started getting reports from behind the scenes about the job and the job hunt and whether I was in it. Anyways, I got hired, luckily. And eventually became the 5 o'clock anchor. Mm-hmm. And so, the job of it is, you're not just the anchor, you are producing the cast.
But do you go into work at 11, or do you go in? Yeah, okay.
About that. And then get out around 7 o'clock or so, depending on what else is going on in the news, right?
Right.
And so, because you're live.
And do you research the news, or do you research things that are happening, or do people come in, or, because I have these like visions of, there's something going on in this thing, let's put it on the news in a minute.
Yes.
I've like a busy news office.
Yes. Well, and there's an assignment editor, for instance, and his job is to come in quite early and get a list of stories that the reporters are going to go out and do.
Right.
And the reporters all get together and they have this little meeting quickly and say, okay, I'll do this, I'll do this, I'll do this, right?
Right.
And off they go. And it can change as the day goes on. If something big comes up, we'll have to leave that story for
Did you
another
do
day.
that as well?
Well, I mean, it would be, once I'm there, yeah, we'd have to say, look, I can live without this if we can get this.
Oh, okay.
Right, that, you provide your input, right?
That's exciting.
And it is, it makes the day went by fast. And the interesting thing about that job is it has a strict deadline. For instance, our 5 o'clock cast. You can't be 10 seconds late for it. Not 10 seconds.
Yeah, I know.
Not 5 seconds. And so every hour you look up at that clock and go, is it 1 o'clock already? Is it 2 o'clock already? Is it 3 o'clock already? And now you're working faster and your shoulders are rising. And by, usually I'd run into the studio at drove the directors crazy, but I would run in there at about 2 minutes to 5, throw on the mic, because I was still putting the cast together until the very last minute. And you have, as I said,
then you have to look so serene.
Right?
Yeah.
And you have to look the same every day. So even if you've had a rough day or you're not feeling well or something's bad happening, you're like, your job, it's like that old thing about there's no business like show business, and you can't go in looking all mopey.
No, and we depend on you. We turn on our television and we depend on you to tell us stuff. I put on my news. I pre-record it so that when I get home, I have it. So I've been watching you on TV for years and years and years. And
back when you were young and I was old somehow.
Oh, I love it. But that's why I wanted to have you on the show, because I just find it so interesting. So when you had to, when you decided that it was time for you to retire, and whatever, if it was a good story or a bad story, but you went into back into politics now, and it just seems like an effortless, easy transition. But is it? Because a lot of
I wouldn't put it that way.
I don't see a lot of people going into politics after a journalism job, being a broadcaster. So what was the inkling to go into council?
That's a good question too. Fact is, I retired and then COVID hit pretty quickly after that. And so I worked ever since I was 17. I never stopped working. I just always worked. I always was in broadcasting. And then suddenly I'm home, COVID hits, and I'm doing literally nothing. And I'm like, this is what retirement's like? I mean, this can't last. I can't sit like this for the next 25 years or whenever I kick the bucket, right? And if I was like you, if I had a skill like you, that would be how I would spend the rest of my life, entertaining people. I've had a show. I'd like to entertain people. I like to it's true. I like to inform people. I like to entertain people, right? If I had your skill, I would. I'm not kidding. I'd be like, if I could just go out and sing or play a piano or whatever one does, but I couldn't do that.
I tried to write songs, but I just said, let's just have a glass of wine instead.
Well, imagine that'd be a good way to write a song. Actually, I was thinking that I should get an interview show just like you have here, but I think the best interview show would be you join the two after they've had right in the middle of their second beer.
I love
that. Would be a talk show, right?
Yes. Well, Graham Norton does that. He gets them all drunk before and then everybody opens them up. And becomes a little bit more.
Who knows what you'd say? What was the question again?
We got to go back into this.
How did I get into council? Well, again, so COVID went by, and I thought I wanted to do something still that provides sort of a community service, just like my old job did, right? And I just told you, I started covering city council, municipal council back in 1978. And I've seen how it works in all these different communities. So in that way, I thought I was qualified. I know the background of how our government system works. I know where councils have gone awry. I've seen a problem. Like some councilors will pick up an attitude, say, I'm going to be the frugal one, I'm going to be the environmental one, and then they're stuck in those roles. They can't help but vote a certain way.
Right. And
I thought, I don't have any of that luggage. I don't have any baggage like that. I can do whatever I want. But I was really hesitant about running for council because it exposes yourself even more than a broadcaster in terms of people attacking you, people coming out of the woodwork, people don't like you.
Well, it's more like you're the real you coming out.
I suppose so. And I mean, all I can say is that I know how the system works, and I'm gonna do my best not to make any goofy decisions, and make sure things are running properly. If things are not running, that there isn't anything leery going on behind the scenes. You just as if you were still in the media.
Completely.
And the questions I ask are kind of the same questions I would ask if I was doing an interview on the air. What does this mean? What's behind it?
So do you have to go into the office every day in council, or
no?
What happens? I know you have the council meetings that we cover. But
they don't even want us to come into the city hall every day.
Really?
Oh no, we're pests. City councilors are pests. They don't want us there. And in fact, there's virtually no offices in there for us anymore.
really?
Oh no, they've shut down the offices. There's 2 computers we can use between 3 computers, I guess we can use between the 8 of us in there. Yeah,
isn't
on
that
2 little tables. No, they don't want us there. They tell us that we're like the board of directors of a company, and a board of directors doesn't come in and tell the management how to run the company.
Oh,
That's what they tell us.
Wow, that's very interesting.
Yep.
This is why I don't know anything about council, and it's so interesting for me to hear
And I'm not
about
saying
this.
anything secret. It's what they tell you.
Oh,
You
no,
learn.
I'm not-
They do that in orientation, you know?
Yeah.
So if you watch the next election and if somebody's saying, if you elect me, there's going to be a community hall here and there's going to be there, it's malarkey. They can't
Yeah.
promise nothing.
Right.
Unless
right.
they can get 8 other councillors or 5 other councillors on board with them.
So do you have a platform? Do you have something that you want to voice in council, or is it just everybody brings things to the board and you have discussions? Like, what happens? Are they conversations? Are they fights? Or
No, it's the way the tables are set up and the
Yeah.
microphones are. You can't talk back and forth. So it's set up to be very formal situation.
Right.
It really is. If you want to speak, you put your microphone on a request to speak.
Okay.
And the mayor sees the screen and picks who was the first, who's the second. So you're not going to cross talk each other. And there's a code of conduct in which you have to make sure it's so opposite, say, from the internet and from the social websites and so forth, where everybody's nattering at each other and yelling at each other and insulting each other. It's the exact
Yeah.
opposite to that, right?
Okay, good. It's very polite.
Yes, and when you set a platform, when I ran for council, all I said was, look, I decided I'm not going to take any donations from anybody.
Yeah.
You're allowed to spend, last election, you're allowed to spend $2,500 of your own money, max. And so I spent about $2,300 of my money, but I didn't take any donations. And nor did I fill out any of the questionnaires that the organizations send out to endorse people. I didn't fill out the one from the environmental groups, from the development groups, from any of the groups.
And
I didn't want to be beholden to anybody.
Exactly,
Right.
because you needed to be your own person
Yeah.
who is now holding a seat in a very important city.
Well, it's really growing and becoming more important. It's really we're noticing now the attention we're getting from the Lower Mainland, from Victoria, from Ottawa.
Yeah.
Suddenly we were one of many small towns in the interior BC. Now we're something different.
I know,
And
the difference.
sometimes I think council is like the growth. It's like we're holding the tiger by the tail, you know.
Wow, I love that.
We're not the ones asking people to move here. We're not the ones saying make this the fastest growing city in Canada.
No.
Canadians are doing that.
You're keeping up.
We just have to try and keep up. You know?
Is it scary sometimes?
It's it's a weird part-time job where you can wake up in the middle of the night and worry about what's the best way to vote.
Yeah.
You know, suddenly everybody's problem is not your problem.
Wow.
It's a weird little, I take home $1,100 every 2 weeks to do it. Well, I guess now 13 we got a raise. So
That's right. I heard about that.
$1,300 every 2 weeks now for it.
Oh my goodness.
That's just how it is.
Well, I was with Rick Weber, the broadcaster, and now I'm with Rick Weber, the counselor. And what a conversation we had. You know what? We're going to take a little break, and then we're going to get to know Rick Weber with a series of infiltrating questions to really get to know Mr. Rick Weber, my guest today. We'll see you in a minute.
Infiltrating.
Infiltrate. Well, hello. We're back for our third segment of What Do You Say with Anna J? My name is Anna J, and I am with Rick Weber. Like I said, we've talked a lot about broadcasting, council, but now I want to get to know Rick Weber, the guy. So I've got these scientific questions that I'm going to ask him.
Scientific.
Are you ready to be?
Yeah, I'm braced.
Okay.
I should have straps like they do in the game shows.
Now, they can be one-word answers. They can be elaborated on, but best sandwich.
You know, I thought, luckily you sent out these questions.
Yes, I did.
I had to think about it. You know, I really had to think about it. I'm going to go back to when I was a kid, and my favorite sandwich, and it kind of still is, I suppose, is peanut butter and honey. My mom would pack that in my lunch, and I'd get, peanut butter and honey, my favorite. It's better than bologna or something.
Yeah, I used to have peanut butter and banana.
Yeah.
What's one thing you own that you should really throw out?
Me and my family, we all have a problem where we keep things forever, right? I have my grandma's old toaster, the kind that had the openings and you put them in.
Oh my goodness.
And occasionally I use it, right? I have boots that I bought back in the 80s, snow boots that are still good, so I keep them, you know?
Yeah.
My aunt and uncle gave me pots and pans, secondary pot pans when I moved out in 1978. I still use them. So
I know.
I just use them, you know.
And they probably have the copper on the
Yeah,
bottom.
that's right. Yeah, exactly.
Uh-huh.
But I'll say the thing I'm keeping around that I'm not using is a pair of curling shoes I bought in Merritt in 1981, and I still have them in case I ever need them, right?
In case I ever need them.
Curling shoes.
It's like that tennis racket.
1981 Nike curling shoes. They got to be like a collector's item.
Wow, yeah, that is. Okay, scariest animal.
I'm not really afraid of any animals. One time I did a show called Anchors Away, where we went out and had adventures, and we went to the Penticton game farm, and I remember they put a boa constrictor on me, and I had scorpions and spiders going on me and stuff, and those things that worry me. But in real life, I think if you ever found yourself with a grizzly bear aiming at you, you'd be in big trouble. Grizzly bears, that would be bad news.
Yeah.
And the conservation officers also say that people should be giving way more respect to moose and elk, that they're mean and they can do damage, and they avoid them more than anything else. So
I got chased by a swan, thinking that they were the most beautiful things that just float along the Thames.
Yeah.
But no, they're vicious.
And for men, they don't like them because those birds tend to just be at crotch level when they attack. Gooky, so.
Apples or oranges?
Apples. They're Okanagan, they're easy.
I like what you say. Have you ever asked someone for their autograph?
That's a good question too. You know, I met a lot of people over the years interviewing them, and it wouldn't have been professional to ask for their autograph, you know.
Which one did you want to then?
Well, I'll tell you one I would have got if I had never met him, and I came close, but I'm a Star Trek fan. This is bringing up my geekiness. I would have Leonard Nimoy. If I had met him, I would have asked for his autograph and a picture.
He came to Kelowna years ago, I think.
That day?
I think like when I was a little girl, like because I've been here since grade 2, so I remember that. And I'm not a Trekkie, but I remember my brother being weirded out about it. I have to look back at that. Okay, anyway, this is your questions. What do you think happens when we die?
Back that you just said.
Yeah, I want that. You can have it.
Yeah, sorry.
What do you think happens when we die?
Now, you know, that again, those are good questions. I mean, I suspect nothing. I suspect we just die. But I would like it that it would be, you'd find everybody you ever knew alive in a sort of a spirit form, free of human compunctions, and they would just see the universe as it is and be themselves, and you would join them.
Yeah, because I think we have a soul.
I hope so, you know, but I don't know.
Favorite action movie?
Again, it's going to have to be Star Trek movies in general. Also Star Wars. I'm a science fiction guy.
Yeah.
I love the Lord of the Rings movies.
Okay.
And I thought they were fantastic, right? So anything in that genre.
Good one. I like knowing that about you. You get one song to listen to for the rest of your life. It doesn't have to be on repeat all the time.
Oh.
What is it?
It's a tough one because I thought if that was the only song I ever get to listen to, I'd learn to hate it pretty quickly. So I wasn't so sure I wanted to take a song I like. So I just thought of a real soft, melodic, symphonic song that could play in the background and be there all the time. But I took it literally that was going to be on
so this was going to be the soundtrack.
time.
Yeah. Yeah, okay, that's nice. But a particular soundtrack or like Bach or?
Well, you know, that's a good question. Again, I don't know. I'd have to think more about it. I'll tell you my favorite album in general, though, was U2, Octung Baby. I just love that album. Still do after 30 years. I still love it. I crank it in the car.
And that's what I mean, you know.
And also some Tragically Hip.
Oh, okay. A little Canadian throwback there.
I'm not tired of their songs either.
See, that's what I'm saying. I sing the same jazz song for 30 years, and I still love it. Like it.
Well, the way you sing it too, I listen to it. It's like you just add your own nuances to it. And it's like a whole new song, right? So I'm very envious of what you can do.
Oh, and me too with you. So this is like a mutual admiration society.
Probably,
We are, but it's okay. We've got a few more seconds. Okay. So, least favorite smell?
It would be having lived in Powell River, where there was a paper mill, in Kamloops, where there was a pulp and paper mill. Prince George, I was up there, and boy, that's a terrible stink.
Right.
It's a terrible stink. If it's flowing the right way. It's sour. It's white. It
Oh, wow.
pollutes. I remember in Kamloops one time getting in my car to go to the station, and that was where the pollution was, up in the hills. I drove down to the station, went into the station, realized I forgot my lunch, went back to the car, opened it up, and poof, out came a block of stinky
forget the
stuff out of my
lunch.
car.
Yeah.
So that's a bad one.
Favorite smell?
They say it's the smell of money, by the way, too.
Oh.
The smell of, anyway. Favorite smell is, it's food, and it's, when I was a kid, we'd go and visit my grandparents on the farm in Miami, Manitoba. And every time, my grandma always had a big garden in the summer, so no matter when we visited, Christmas time, Easter, whatever, Thanksgiving, we'd come in the kitchen and she'd be making dinner, and there was this giant pot of corn boiling away, and it was just that smell.
I love that.
And to this day, when I walk into someone's house and there's corn. I just flash it back to the farm.
Flat or sparkling?
Sparkling. I have a soda stream thing.
Me too. Love it. Most used app on your phone?
Well, text messages.
Okay.
But also I use Wordle. Every day I do Wordle.
Oh man.
I have a 95% success rate, by the way. Wordle. Is that good?
Oh, that's very good. I'm at 62 or something. Describe the rest of your life in 5 words. It doesn't have to be a sentence, but just 5 words.
I had to think about that too, and a few came up, but the one I would say for broadcast would be, I hope I keep busy.
That's brilliant. That's a sentence. I like that. I'm going to use that one, I think, if somebody asks me these questions. What number am I thinking of right now?
8.
17.
Oh, okay.
All right. And do you think that Kelowna needs a new performing arts center?
Yeah, I read that. I was suspicious when I saw that.
I know, but I ask everybody the same question ever since the show.
Yeah. Oh, wow, that's amazing. It's funny because
these
the
are all the same.
the mayor called a task force to look into whether Kelowna needs a new community theater.
Okay.
And he appointed me as the council representative on it, along with him. And the last few months we've been meeting, and this is a really high-level group of people in town who know all about the whole industry, tourism, music, and arts, and everything, right? And so that's a big question.
It is a big question.
And
you don't have to answer it, because if you're on the board.
But what I can tell you, what I think I don't want to speak on behalf of the board, but I think one thing we have learned statistically is that if there was another theater, say there was 2 theaters exactly the same, they'd both be busy all the time.
Yeah.
So capacity-wise, yes.
Good.
Okay?
Okay. Well, we now know Rick Weber really well. I wanted to say thank you for joining us. My name is Anna J, and this is What Do You Say with Anna J. I'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me.